Hello, everybody. Mr. Moonlight here, and I want to talk about subversion of expectations, or at least what passes for it these days. This is a real problem, and I'm not a watcher of Game of Thrones, but I have come to understand through keeping my finger on the pulse of all the different fandoms that Game of Thrones is now the latest victim of subversion of expectation. And, well, they're not happy about it. I can see that they're not happy about it. And this is what happens with every fandom at this point. We have a franchise created or a story created with characters that are well developed that we love. And then we are treated to the rug being pulled out from underneath of us, and then we have feelings about it. Now, here's one of the things that really bothers me when this happens is that people do become invested in these stories, and I think that that's okay. But because they become invested in these stories, because they're well told, then other people come along and kind of mock them for caring, for believing in these characters, becoming invested in these characters enough that they have an emotional attachment. Now, that is the nature of art. If you create something good, you create an emotional response, a communication. People can relate to what you've created and care about it. And by extension, they care about your values, what you've put into this work, your heart and soul. So there's a little bit of a phenomena that happens. I'll go back to this for a second. What everyone expected and wanted, what we got. Now, this is something that, again, it makes me mad to see people believing this thing that they get told by the other people that come along and subvert, I'm doing air quotes, our expectations, which is, well, you wanted this, but that's too easy. We want to subvert your expectations. We're going to give you something that you didn't expect. Well, that would be fine if what you gave us was something that adhered to the values of what was originally created, adhered to the quality, continued and expanded the ideas that we originally showed up for. Pulling the rug out from under us, yes, that subverts our expectations. We didn't expect you to defecate all over what we loved and then hand it back to us. Yeah, I guess expectations are subvertive, but it's not satisfying. And again, whichever franchise you're a fan of, the response is then to mock you for wanting to be satisfied. Well, yes, that's why we show up. We're showing up to be entertained, not preached to, not given some sort of life lesson of how things don't always turn out how you want them to. Yeah, there are very good stories that suddenly shock us with a tragedy. I think this kind of started with The Walking Dead, although I'm sure we can trace it back earlier, where The Walking Dead would kind of be interesting to people because you just never knew who was going to get killed. And at first, that was, like, oh my God, I can't believe that that person died after all this time. This kind of also goes back to the Alien 3 problem, which I made videos about, where the character of Clemens was developed and then suddenly killed off unceremoniously, and then it was kind of forgotten about. It was mentioned here and there, but it didn't have any relevant bearing on the story. The idea being that, well, if a well-developed character can suddenly die out of left field, then anyone can go. Well, again, that's not good enough. The fact that anyone could go at any time, I guess that, gives us an idea of suspense and fear. But if it doesn't mean anything, if the following deaths don't mean anything, then whatever, you just cease to care. So again, subverting our expectations means giving us something that is of equal or greater value that we weren't expecting, not giving us, if you're not going to give us a reunion of all the beloved characters and maybe a passing of the torch where the new characters learn something from these characters and grow and continue on with their values and their legacy, and instead you give us, Captain Resting Face. I mean, like, look at her. She's just kind of, scowling at us. It's almost as if these characters have contempt. Ooh, I forgot to turn off my phone notifications. Well, it's Star Wars. It's a Star Wars style notification, so hopefully we can turn that down. Anyway. Yes. Arms crossed, resting face, lackey behind her. What is that? It's not exciting. That's not fun. It doesn't, if I was a kid, I wouldn't want to buy that as a toy. I was watching, I went and I rewatched the original trilogy this weekend. My wife and I put it on. We watched A New Hope. We watched The Empire Strikes Back, and we watched Return of the Jedi. And I was watching the Sarlacc pit scene, lamenting a little bit that the CGI had been added to it. But I remember being a little kid with my Star Wars toys, and I dug a hole in the backyard and stuck toothpicks all around the inside of it and like a little piece of wood for the plank. And I had my Star Wars toys all set up around this. I was reenacting like a Sarlacc pit battle. It was so cool. I was, I don't know, like 8 years old. And can you imagine a little kid reenacting this? No, give us adventure, give us fun. So yes, subvert our expectations, but give us something that isn't going to make us feel like we were tricked. A lot of people in the comments, not just in Game of Thrones, but Star Wars, they go like, are we being trolled? Is this some sort of epic high budget troll? Do these people not like us? Do these people not like what we love? Do they want to spite us? Do they have contempt for us? Well, I kind of am inclined to believe that the answer is yes. There seems to be some sort of contempt. Now, I don't think this contempt is from people who looked at the original stuff and didn't like it, and now they've gotten a hold of it and they want to show us how much they didn't like it. No, I do believe that they do like it. But here's the problem. If you create something magical, if you create something really good that people love, and then you hand it off to some other people, they didn't earn it. You got Dr. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park talking about how you took what others had done and you just took the next logical steps, but you didn't earn it. You were so concerned about wondering if you could, you didn't stop to think if you should. And that's exactly what's going on here, because everything that comes after, essentially what it is these people have been waiting to have the status that comes with being involved with something like that, but they didn't create it. They just take the name. I should have, there's a meme of it was Edgar from Men in Black, and the woman's like, he wasn't Edgar, just somebody wearing an Edgar suit. And that's what these franchises have become. They get hijacked so people can tell the stories that they think they want to tell, but they don't really have anything to tell. They don't have any goal. They just have kind of like, I don't know, I'm at a loss. It essentially, they just want to take something with the name recognition and do their own thing, but they don't actually have their own thing to do. They don't have anything to add. And I've heard people say, well, we should just be grateful we're getting more of these movies. We should be grateful that we have more Star Wars. We have more Terminator or Aliens or whatever. No, I'm not grateful to see these things of lesser value dressed up in suits made of the skin of the beloved franchises that I have invested in. I would much rather just see them stop and say, okay, the story's completed before they're too late. But instead, we get told that we should like this. And there are people in the fandom, and I really think it's kind of a cognitive dissonance or a Stockholm syndrome. I mean, okay, if you genuinely do like these new movies, please don't let anything I have to say ruin your enjoyment. This is just my opinion, but it does come with some objective notes, criticisms, story points. There are things objectively wrong or lesser value of these new projects. And we notice it's not good. And, look, I had another photo for this, but it was too gross. But I'll kind of give you the analogy of what I'm going for here. Look, don't take a dog turd and put it on an ice cream cone and put sprinkles on it and hand it to us and tell us it's ice cream, and then tell us we should be grateful that you're giving us ice cream. No, we've had ice cream before. We love ice cream. That's a dog turd. Eat it if you want, but don't tell us we should eat it, and don't tell us we should be grateful and we should pay you for that dog turd on a cone with sprinkles. And really, again, it just kind of comes down to, things that were great. Terminator 2, these were great movies, genuinely high quality, innovative, coming from a place of imagination, and they were created by someone who earned everything that he got from his audience, back from his audience. The fan art, the fandom, the quotes, great actors, groundbreaking special effects, not just in CGI, but the people doing the practical effects work did amazing work. And then, years later, you're telling us we're still making Terminator movies, and we get this. What is this? I'm glad to see Linda Hamilton back, and I would love to see the continuation of her story. I thought she really got a bum steer deal on Terminator 3. And Terminator 3 was, after Terminator 2, you come off and see Terminator 3, and you go, what is this? And people go, well, yeah, it's a hard act to follow. You can't expect it to be as great every time. Why not? Why can't we expect that if you're going to put the time and money into a sequel and ask for us as an audience to come back and keep coming back, that you wouldn't at least try to get the best talent and take your time and create the best quality story, so that we want to continue to buy the DVDs. We want to keep coming back for the next sequels. It may seem like it's a little more money, a little more effort. Maybe you don't see the immediate profits as much if you can't keep cranking this stuff out, but the long term is going to keep us around. It's going to keep us coming back. Instead, we get, that's not John Connor. I understand that Edward Furlong, couldn't come back for unfortunate reasons, but and who is this girl? You're not even putting Arnold Schwarzenegger in the promotional art. I know he's coming back, and I'm sure he's glad to be back in the limelight for a little longer. But let's see. Why isn't it going back? Oh well. Do I have to restore it back to its normal thing? Okay, there we go. This versus this. This, okay? Hey, you remember how cool the aliens were? You remember when Sigourney Weaver was in her prime? Amazing acting. Probably one of the best icons of the 80s you could possibly ask for in horror and science fiction, in action. She just gave it her all, and she fought these amazing aliens. But, here we are in the 2000s, and we have not Sigourney Weaver fighting kind of proto-aliens that are not quite as, You know, they're the same, but they're not the same. They're the same, but they're not better. You know, and with Prometheus, now don't get me wrong, I did enjoy Prometheus, but it should not have been in the Aliens franchise. It should have been its own thing. Because to tell the audience, after years of waiting, hey, you remember that crazy H.R. Giger space jockey pilot that was so incomprehensibly alien that it, you know, would just blow your mind to encounter their culture or whatever they are. It's like nothing like you've ever seen before. Well, actually, it is like something you've seen before. It's us. It's just giant people with kind of weird faces and kind of H.R. Giger-esque suits that are really kind of just like the Borg. Or what else? There was something else that they were kind of reminding me of as well. But, you know, it's like, yeah, it's David created the alien. It's not actually like an expansive dark universe of infinite possibility and frightening things that would boggle any human imagination to try and understand them. No, it's just, you know, an android meddling around with some, you know, black goo created by, you know, rejects from Midnight Oil. That's what they look like. Have you ever seen do you remember Midnight Oil from the 80s and the early 90s? They had that Beds Are Burning video. Like, they kind of look like the singer of that band. Anyway, you know, this versus this. This is all right. But this is not what you follow this with. You know? And it seems like everywhere you go, they're kind of, I don't know, again, the subversion of expectation. Yeah, you know, Fat Thor was good for a laugh, but we really do want this. This is what we showed up for, you know, and to have a character who's a hero. And here's the other thing. We seem to be having a problem with a hero problem. And that is, we show up for heroes. That's why the Marvel movies are so successful. We don't have heroes anymore. Ripley was a hero. She was an every person. She wasn't, you know, a god like Thor is, but she still was brave when she needed to be brave. You know, Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor was brave when she needed to be brave. She was a damaged person, but she was still a hero. All the great movies that we love, they come from a place where people had to buckle down and do something that needed to be done in support of not only the preservation of their own life, but in preservation of who they love, what their values are. That's what a hero is. Someone who is going to step up even when they think things are at their worst. Now, Thor, you know, it makes sense in the story. He's been through a lot. He's been beaten down. And that's kind of analogous of what franchises seem to do these days. If you create something that has value, that has real character and depth and artistic merit, well, the people who take over next are just going to beat it down into something that for a laugh or to subvert our expectation, which is really to give us something of lesser value and expect us to appreciate it as if it's of equal or greater value when it's not. And I think that the problem is this. You know, here's another example. The Harry Potter franchise. It started, they're kids' movies, you know, but I thought that Chris Columbus did a really good job with the first two, and the third one was pretty good too. The rest, not so much, but still, they revolved around Harry Potter. And that's another thing, you know, we need to come to understand this. These expanded universes, like Star Wars is about the Skywalkers. Yes, you can expand the universe. Harry Potter universe is about Harry Potter. The Aliens universe is about Ripley. Once you take away that element, those are their stories. The universe is just what their stories exist in. You can tell other stories in their universe, but don't expect them to have as much value or as much meaning, because it's the characters and their story that we are attached to. But, when you start retconning stuff, start playing around and going, oh, what you thought was, well, then we get this. What the heck? We didn't even care. We did not care. We didn't need to know. It doesn't add anything more to the story. It just starts subverting what was built, not our expectations, what was created. And it shows a lack of respect for that material. Now, you're going to say, well, the original people are involved. Well, this is why you have to stop playing around in your own universe and move on as well. Because then you start going like, well, how can I get attention again? How can I make the news? What can I say? What can I change where people like pay attention to me again? And you start messing around with things, rewriting, and then this is how you get the Star Wars special editions with the added CGI. It's not better, but you can't help continuing trying to mess around and perfect it. It was fine. Let it be what it was. It's a testament to what you created at the time. Move on. Don't destroy what you made because you think you know better now and you can fix it. You have to trust in the person you were and what they created then. And honestly, if you were creating something now and your future self came along and started like telling you what to change while you were trying to think of it, you'd be mad. And that's kind of what's going on here. Another example. We knew what the Predator was. It was a very simple concept, not simple-minded, simple. There's a difference. A simple concept is easy to understand, but you can do a lot with it. You can be very intelligent about it. But to be simple-minded, well, I think the Predator, the reactions speak for themselves. Now, I will admit, I did not see the Predator. No. It was on HBO the other day. I put it on for like a few minutes and instantly turned it off and went, I can't do this, because this is a product of its time. This is a product of innovation where a studio wanted to create a simple concept. Stan Winston came along and brought in a great monster, and everyone turned in a great performance, and it was lightning in a bottle. To come along and say, oh, actually, they're here to harvest our genes and upgrade themselves. Wait a minute, excuse me. If you can beat us handily, then why would you think that we're an upgrade? Sorry, it doesn't work that way. And you want to take over Earth because it's getting warmer to a temperature that, like, it's so much conceit. Jurassic Park. Simple concept. You do it, it's done. There were no sequels that lived up to it, and yet we're on sequel number, 5? And what are we getting? We're just getting reenactments. Hey, remember this scene? Well, we're doing it again, except it's not this scene, and it's not quite as good because you've seen it before, and it was done great the first time, and we really can't repeat that. So why are we doing this again? Oh yeah, money. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that there's more money to be had in really trying to either expand in a meaningful way on something and really ask yourself, why did I like this to begin with? What were the values behind these stories? That's so important. If you're a writer, you should be writing from your values, and you should be honest. You shouldn't be writing to preach. You shouldn't be writing to be an activist or subvert anyone's expectations. Just tell a story that you find exciting, and I guarantee you your values will come through. And if your values are consistent with other people's values, then others will be attracted to it. But if you're just trying to hijack something that's already been created and then replace it with your own thing and just slap the name on it, people are going to notice. And that's what's happening now. That's why so many people are complaining. That's why so many people are unhappy with the way things are. And they get defensive when other people try and tell them, like, no, it's good. You should like it. And you're stupid for liking it. No, again, if you enjoy these movies, don't let anybody else's criticism of them, including mine, ruin your enjoyment. Because ultimately, if you're having fun with them, then that's fine. I enjoy the Star Wars prequels. There are a lot of people with criticisms of those, and some of them are legitimate. Some of them I don't believe are legitimate. I still enjoy them. It doesn't matter if other people don't, if they think they're garbage. That's fine. But I happen to think they adhere to the values of the original stories, and I did a video on that as well, which is on my channel. So if you're enjoying these movies, fine. But don't browbeat us. Don't tell us we're stupid, and don't tell us we should shut our mouths, because we are noticing the declining quality of these. And don't think that we just want more and more of it. Again, this whole thing, we should be grateful that we're still getting these movies. Why? Why do we don't need them? I would much rather see new and exciting things created. I'd much rather see new ideas. Take a chance, studios. You don't need to keep chasing after these billion-dollar payoffs, because you're losing a lot of money on other stuff. And it's, again, a lot of these, Aliens was $18 million. Even with inflation factored in, that's nowhere near the budget a lot of these movies are going for now. The classic Hollywood Universal monsters, those were low budget movies. You guys can create new franchises for less money. Take a chance on some ideas. Get these other things off the stage, or take your time. Was it Disney announced they got 5 more Star Wars movies coming out? They're just going to crank those things out, and they are going to be garbage. I don't want garbage. I've stopped watching the Star Wars movies. I don't even want to, I turned off Rogue One in the middle of it. I barely got through The Force Awakens. It was Last Jedi. I just read the synopsis and listened to review videos of what's going on. I can see what's happening, and again, here's another example. Lost. My wife and I got really into this show when it first came out. And what this suffered from is they set up a bunch of ideas. They had no idea where they were going with it. You guys have to know where you're going with this. And this is something I'm hearing about the Star Wars movies. They really seem to have no idea. They just throw stuff out, see what sticks, goes, the mystery box thing. J.J. Abrams talks about the mystery box. Oh, I should have put Star Trek in here. That's another one. Star Trek I didn't mind so much. I liked the reboot, but the reboot they found a way to do a reboot that didn't undermine what had already been created. They went, okay, here's a new timeline. Fantastic. It's a new timeline. It doesn't change anything of what I watched before. Things are going to be done differently, but there's a reason for it, and it's for a new generation of people. It's not, it's not disrespecting the characters. And what was it? The Evil Dead remake. I thought that was good, but you still, again, it was a direct remake. It wasn't undermining Bruce Campbell stuff. But know where you're going with this. After a while of watching Lost, it was really interesting. These mysteries were set up, and then suddenly you realize, oh, we set up the mystery. They set up the mystery, but they didn't have an answer for the mystery. They were trying to think of it along the way. And when you don't know where you're going, it's just like you lose interest, the audience loses interest. So, again, this is a problem. Understand where you're going. Write from your values. Have some values. And I think this is part of the problem. That's James Hudnall, who passed away recently, but I have an interview with him on this channel as well. He said one of the reasons that Hollywood is telling such poor stories is that a lot of people in Hollywood don't seem to have any values. and therefore, you know, you don't get stories of value. This again with the heroes, we don't have heroes anymore. We need heroic people, whether they're the everyman or they're a god. We need heroes. We don't need our expectations subverted. We just need a good story. And if along the way you figure out a entertaining way to subvert our expectations, then by all means do it. Give us a good twist or whatever. But don't be sitting there thinking like M. Night Shyamalan, what twist am I going to come up with this time? Or, you know, that's not what we want. We want good stories. We want to be respected. We want our values to be respected. We want the values of what we love to be respected. We want good stories that are not rushed out. So anyway, I say we because I'm an audience. I'm a filmmaker too, you know. People always go, well, why don't you make a film that, you know. I'm going to make films that I think do this. I'm finishing up a film now. Not everybody is a filmmaker, though. If you're a mechanic or you're just a fan and you don't like the way things are going, don't say to them, if you don't like it, you'll see you do better. No, it's not their job. They're the audience. Your job as a producer, a studio, a filmmaker, whatever, is to do better. And I don't think for the price of movies these days and all that we pay for Netflix and Amazon and cable and the price of going to the movie theater, like I said, with the concessions and all that sort of thing, we're dumping a lot of money in this. And I think we deserve a little bit of quality for all of that money. Because I personally, I've stopped going to the movie theaters and I'm getting tired of paying for Netflix, that sort of thing, because I feel like I'm not getting what I'm paying for. I feel like I'm showing up for something and you guys are kind of going, haha, it's not here, but you've reached into my pocket and you've pulled out my money. And I think a lot of other theater goers and movie fans feel that way as well. And if you really care about this medium, you will do good. I care terribly about storytelling. I really do. I want to see good stories. I want to see good quality movies. I want to see good quality comic books, novels, and I'm willing to pay for it, and everybody else is as well. You stand a lot more to gain if you start really, again, respecting these franchises or trying to come up with more franchises like you did with Game of Thrones that match what we want. But once you have us there, deliver. Don't pull the rug out from underneath us and then laugh at us or tell us that we're dumb or some weird sycophant fans with cognitive dissonance on us. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening to this rambling. How long did I go? Oh, it went on for over half an hour. I hope it was worth your while to listen to. I feel better. I needed to get this off of my chest. But I have to get back to work now because I've got more coming up with behind the scenes on the Ray Bradbury Live Forever play that I created visual effects for. The Quantum Terror, my feature film that is coming soon, has picture lock, VFX finished, and is in the last stages of audio. So hopefully I have some news on that and a new trailer as well. And I've got more on the way. So check out my Patreon if you are inclined. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you're still subscribed and share this. If you feel like I'm saying something that resonates with you and you think other people will relate as well, then please give this a share and tell me what you think in the comments. So thanks everyone. Have a good one, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye.